Today on the Tech Bytes podcast, we're diving into SSE and SASE with HPE Aruba Networking. One thing we are seeing is the diversity of vendor solutions in the SASE SSE market. And there are significant differences between the solutions that each vendor provides. At the same time, the previous generations of point solutions like VPNs, CASBs, application firewalls have become unworkable. Now, I don't mean they don't work or they're failing us or whatever. What I mean is operationally maintaining the integrity of a security policy or keeping the cybersecurity consistent across tens of products for hybrid work and connectivity, it's just not sustainable. This idea that your VPNs have the same policy as your CASB, have the same policy as your application firewalls, hard to prove and very difficult to maintain going forward. So today we're talking to Jaye Tillson and John Spiegel. They're both field CTOs at HPE Aruba Networking. Let's get into the conversation. Now, in the preparation that we did here is you were taking the point of view that SASE is about delivering an application or about delivering data. That is not normally how we approach SSE or SASE. Most people talk about connectivity or I want to connect all these people. Why are you focusing on the application or the data aspect?
It's really about application and data. I think that the world really resolves around data, or at least the world we live in, and the application is really what gives access to that data. So that's why we focused on that. I think connectivity is pretty much like delivery of water and gas now. In most of the world, it's pretty simple to get. So that's why we focused on that. I'm not sure, John, anything you want to add?
Yeah, I think it's a reflection of what leadership wants to think, or what leadership is looking for at the end of the day. They're looking for a business outcome. And, going into the widgets of, hey, this connects this to this, to this, to this, having a conversation with a C-level leader and bringing that forward just doesn't go far. So really what I think SASE is about is the modern way to deliver an application, a resource to a third party or an employee with minimum friction. Because in the past, you had to make a choice. The choice was, do I favor speed, which favors the network side of things and performance of an application, or do I favor security, which oftentimes slows things down? And we favored speed for so long, and now in a day where applications and data are spread all across the internet and outside of the corporate data center, you got to have both speed and security, and that's why I say SASE really solves that dilemma.
Well, I think the flip side here is that connectivity is kind of a given. Everything's connected now because of the internet, right? So it's less about, and the idea of point-to-point connectivity is also dying. So we used to always connect a, branch to the head office, branch to the data center or branch to a spoken hub type of a design. And now everybody's connected to the internet. So it's very any to any. It used to be acceptable to go to work and be locked out of something. Whereas now if you try to stop people from accessing TikTok at work, there'd be hate crimes being formed in the reception areas. People demanded access. I think the question I wanted to ask though is how does this impact your product design? Because HPE Aruba's SSE is different, right? Because you come from a different background here. So how does this impact your product design or the operational choices that you make with your product?
Yeah, I think because we no longer have to concentrate on the network because it is a given, we can focus more on what businesses actually want. So rather than fix a problem around networking or connectivity, you assume that's going to be there. And in today's world, it very much is there, as we've just said. So then you can concentrate, as John alluded to just now, that you can concentrate on the real business problem, which is delivering that application and data. It's a bit like when you build a house. You don't need to consider that there is going to be electricity in general, or there is going to be water. Therefore, you can concentrate on the important things that the user wants or the business wants.
Yeah, Jay, just to add on there, I think also because we started this project, 2018, we had the opportunity to look back and say, what did vendor X and vendor Y and vendor C focus on? They all focused on when their product came to market. There was a different challenge at the end of the day. Maybe it was SWIG. Maybe it was securing SaaS applications with CASB, or maybe it was firewalling. And those were all great things, and those problems needed to be solved at the time. But I think, with the advent of cloud, Zero Trust with Kindervag and Chase Cunningham, we had the opportunity to look back and also look forward. And that's why we focused on delivering applications.
Yeah, I'd like to add a little bit to that as well. I think the pandemic has created a much more hybrid world.
Yes.
So people that concentrated on, or other vendors that concentrated on delivering things in a different way were working in a different world. We're
Yeah.
much more cloud focused. We live in a cloud world. Our users are hybrid. So therefore, that's the problem we've concentrated on resolving.
And because you're a relatively new product, like 2018 to 2024 in the SD-WAN, SASE, SSE, CASB evolution, right? There are companies out there who started from a CASB who are now doing SD-WAN, SASE, SSE, right? They started off as a CASB, a cloud-hosted service with no edge presence, and they said, if you bring me your traffic, I'll offer you a service. And now they realize that actually what customers want is a unified service. They want the edge and the cloud to be unified. They don't want to see them as two different separate things. But at the same time, you didn't start off as an SD-WAN product that got some SASE added to it with security, that got some, virtual blah, 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 blah. You seem to be much more modern, and you said well, VPNs are automatically included. That's part of the stack. Operations is part of the stack. We didn't have to add it on later on like Cisco had to with its SD-WAN stuff.
Yeah, I mean, obviously HPE Aruba Networking SSE was born or came about from the Access acquisition. And Access was really born to fix a specific issue and then grew from fixing that issue. And that issue was very much third-party and contractor access. That was a requirement that CISOs needed at the time. This is before we were talking about SSE and before we were talking about SASE. But the world we live in today, the biggest risk we are seeing and hearing about and see on social media is VPN. And really, that is where Access was born, to fix that third-party and contractor access and then to be the new version of VPN with an agent. And that's really what was concentrated on.
That third-party access is also is a superset of what everybody's doing, what employees are doing, right? And you actually want your employees to have the same access controls and security as you do with third-party. Well, now we do anyway.
Yeah, I mean, and the third-party and contractor resolution is a hard one, or the problem is a hard one to fix. Because there are more third parties now, there are more contractors. And what I mean by that is we have an awful lot of BYOD. So even your enterprise employees are pretty much needing to be treated as a contractor, okay? Because they're their own devices. You don't control them. You can't patch them. You can't maintain them. So that's a broadening that spectrum of that third party and contractor access. But as you said, you want to treat all your users, no matter what they're accessing or from where they're accessing, in the same way.
Yeah, because employees are just a subset of remote access, of external parties, because they all do the same things wrong. As far as I'm concerned, the only difference is you're actually restricting, say somebody who's accessing the air conditioning system or the building management system or whatever slightly more tightly than you might with an employee, because the general assumption is an employee isn't going to do something bad. Although in 2024, that's definitely no longer a certainty. So
no,
I think
I was going to say that the employee may not do something bad intentionally, but their device may, because they may be compromised. And that's the whole reason why ZTNA and Zero Trust is being talked about a lot more today, is because it purely is around user to application, connecting that user on their device when they've been checked and posture checked and passed MFA to just the application they need. So it limits that attack surface significantly.
I just want to back up on something a little bit. If I was listening to this podcast and thinking about what you said you started with this external contractor or third-party access to corporate resources. How different is, if I'm thinking about, but I want somebody who knows how to do SD-WAN or SASE, how different is that? So is VPN different to SD-WAN in some way, or is SD-WAN, if I'm thinking, if you built from a VPN, then where's the SASE part?
Yep, really, they are different because when you're looking at a VPN, and especially, let's call it a ZTNA style connectivity, it's about delivering an application to a user in least privilege. SD-WAN, on the other hand, is about building a tunnel between a branch office and corporate headquarters, or to an application that may be up in the cloud, and that tunnel is pretty much, everything's being sent over it. There's no per se inspection going on. And that's the difference, is everything that we have within our system is brokered, is inspected, done real time. The POPs, or the points of presence, are in the cloud. They're running with on Kubernetes, modern architecture, cloud native architecture, and it's delivered like a SaaS model. You don't have to do the care and feeding and patching or the twiddling of bits or delivering devices. It's all software based. So it's a different approach.
Right. So I think what I hear you're saying is that a VPN for an external contractor is the same technology that you would use to connect branch to a head office or a branch to a public cloud, an off-prem cloud of some sort. It's not, the technology is not radically different.
I wouldn't say so. And, because we are now part of the HPE Aruba family, we now have that integration, that tight integration with the Edge Connect portfolio, as well as we're adding more and more capabilities with that product. So, for instance, very soon, if not by the time of this recording, because we'll have HPE Discover happening really quickly, we're going to be announcing more and more integrations with that product. Could be like, hey, instead of just creating an IPsec tunnel to your SSE provider, it's just part of the fabric. We're going to be spinning up Edge Connect in our POPs to make that so much easier. And then also we're going to be extending ZTNA access through those Edge Connect tunnels, such that you don't have to worry about securing that OT traffic and segmenting it off from your user traffic. It just will get done by policy. So there's a lot of neat stuff that's going to be coming really soon.
Right. So you mentioned zero trust there, which is of course the topic du jour for hybrid work, like the idea of remote work or distributed work or hybrid work. Because people work from anywhere. It doesn't matter whether you're in an office or out of an office, anymore. That barrier has been broken. I guess the question is that the challenge that I hear from a lot of people is that building zero trust is hard, and they have to suddenly change everything. But one of the things that you wrote here is start small with ZTNA and grow with your ready. How does that work? What is it about your solution that says you can start small with the HPE SSE zero trust?
Because the product is a unified SSE platform, all built on the same code base, within the same UI, you can choose to start in different places. We are definitely seeing most people start with ZTNA, and that's why we talk about it. And that's because of those risks of VPN and that third-party contractor access, and that's on people's minds, and we see it in the press all the time. So that's where people are starting. But like I said, because it's a single code base, you can then just purchase additional features as you want to. You can add on your secure web gateway when your license expires for the one you may already have. You can already and a lot of the work's done within the platform already, or users are built out. It just needs a little bit of more config. And then you can start to talk about CASB and then digital experience monitoring, which is visibility across the platform. And what we see with a lot of our customers with a lot of the other vendors in the space, you are encouraged to turn off the agent when you come on-prem so that you then go back to, say, Open LAN or Open WAN. We don't encourage our customers to do that. In fact, they don't want to do that. They want to leave that agent on so they get the same policy and same profile and same level of access on-prem or remote.
That's completely bonkers, because when you're in a campus, it's actually less secure. What you're doing is turning your security off because you're apparently connected to a campus LAN. That's ridiculous. I mean, and the idea of a secure campus LAN is a tautology. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
Traditionally, securing the LAN has been hard. I mean, other solutions out there that we've seen, NAC and similar type things are very complex to configure, complex to manage. And when you make a change to the code, so you upgrade your NAC system, you got to go upgrade the switches, so on and so forth. It's why we believe there's a better way, and that's why we believe that you just should leave the agent on and simplify the experience such that the policy that you create in your SSE cloud can start with that user, that employee starting their day at home, going to the cafe, going to the campus or the branch, working there, maybe going out to lunch, doing some work, and again in a cafe, and then eventually, heading home. We believe that policy should follow you out throughout the entire day. And long term, so does HPE Aruba Networking. So you're going to see more about that conversation and how we can simplify that experience.
So there's a couple of takeaways there. You're saying that you can start small with your zero trust. You can start off with just doing external contractors as you onboard them, and then you can grow it to a team that needs, maybe there's a team of people who are doing hybrid work. A lot of them are off, but a lot of them are on-prem, and you need a way to have a consistent on and off. I think the consistent on and off-prem approach makes sense. Because otherwise what happens is people come into the office and then suddenly things don't work.
Exactly.
Right? Or it's a different experience. So, I have to log in when I'm at home, but now I'm in the office, I don't. Well, that makes no sense. Why have a different, solution? And the only reason that campuses are insecure was because people didn't want to spend money on it. People wanted the cheapest possible solution. And however, the only solution to making campus secure is this prohibitively expensive proprietary overlay networking solutions that use security tags and all this ridiculous stuff. I think, the way we've gone with campus networking is ridiculous. We should have just gone straight to an SSE and a zero trust solution 10 years ago. But
but
took a while.
The challenge is the voice of the customer is strong. So anyone who's deployed a security solution and thinks, hey, I got this covered. And then, you come up with some challenges with several of your employees that are very boisterous, and pitchforks come out and that security function's turned off.
That's right. And you go to your campus guy and you say, we need to get rid of the campus and replace it with zero trust. And it's like, hang on, that's my whole reason for existence. I've spent 10 years, and that's the sort of entrenched stuff that we have to get around.
Yeah. I mean, I get asked, I don't know how many times I get asked a week where to start this journey. It's lots. And my answer always is, it's depending on your business and it's dependent on your risks. And it just happens to be that most people see third party and contractors as their biggest risks, whether you're manufacturing, whether you're finance, whether you're banking, whether you're retail, you'll have third parties and contractors connecting from devices that you really shouldn't trust with an agent. So just happens to be that's the biggest risk. But my answer is always start where your business sees the biggest risk. And
also, I think the interesting thing about the external contractors is they're also lowest impact usually. Like they're the easiest people to abuse and turn them into victims. I mean, early adopters. It's not a lot of them. Most often they're not usually in critical roles and so forth. So it's an easy place to start. But you're also saying that you can easily ramp this up to the next level.
Yeah, because you tend to build the policy around your third party and contractors. And they tend to access very similar services, the same as your enterprise users would. So the policy's built, you've already configured your IDP that you require, you've configured access. All you then do is add the groups in for your enterprise users and away you go.
I think the other angle here is if you're using VPNs, you have a problem there keeping the gateways consistent, like the old IPsec VPN, which was all point-to-point. Whereas zero trust tends to say, I'm going to connect. Where's the other end? I don't know, nor do I care. Because you've got this distributed cloud infrastructure with POPs all over the world. And when I connect, I just connect to your SSE platform somewhere in the cloud somewhere.
Absolutely. Think about the experience from an employee perspective. If I have multiple VPN gateways, and maybe I have multiple VPN gateways because of acquisitions, legacy, I'm going to get inconsistent MFA, multiple authentication prompts. Employees don't like that. They will rebel and they will find ways around it. And that's why, focusing on a simplified solution that provides, connectivity and access and security, just as a better experience for the employees. Because at the end of the day, like I said, they get a vote and their vote is very strong.
It's not an outright vote. It's on social. It's like voting on social media with your rabid postings on something because you've got an opinion.
Maybe they get a veto.
With multiple VPN gateways or firewalls, you've got multiple CVEs to monitor, you've got multiple systems to patch, you've got multiple lots of downtime, you've got all of those things from a managerial point of view, and you've got multiple systems to go in and investigate if you think you've been compromised or if you're troubleshooting. So SSE brings all those together in a place that there's a lot less hardware, there's a lot less firmware requirements, there's a lot less renewals, and it's just much more simple in general.
Well, thanks everybody for listening to our Tech Bites. Thanks so much to HPE Aruba for sponsoring today's show. If you want more information about the HPE Aruba, there's a bunch of links in the show notes. If you go and search up on Tech Bites and HPE Aruba SSE, you'll find it. There's a bunch of different pieces of white papers and links to different articles that can help you get gripping into the SSE, because it is a slippery topic. It's a big, amorphous, large sort of a thing. And thanks very much to HPE for sponsoring. Without them, we wouldn't be here today. As always, remember that there's plenty of other podcasts over on the Packet Pushers website. Get on over and subscribe to those, and we'd be happy to see you there. Thanks very much for listening.